What up, y'all? It's One Sir Grove. This is C4CW, casting 495 celebrities worldwide. Do you remember those of you who are true fans of this show? And if you are, by the way, we 495 most certainly appreciate you. Do you remember a few episodes back, almost 2 weeks ago now? I'd say it's been about 14 days-ish, at least a week and a half. Do you recall the episode where I conjectured that the coronavirus had a temperature that is heat sensitivity to it? And that when you look at human life and human mobility, migration, how every human being is somehow tied to a certain water table within that person's immediate vicinity, because humans become acclimated to a certain water table. And what I have heard in the world of science, whether it's true or not, is that when people travel, they get sick a lot of times, not because of bad food that they ate. It's because their body is not accustomed to the water table that is essentially a different water than where they live. So apparently there's a body of information out there that states that if you live in a certain area, you become accustomed to that water type, that water table. So looking at different water tables, when you travel, if you drink water that is not your water table, your body isn't used to it, and so it starts to produce these symptoms as if you're sick. Kind of like when you have seasonal hay fever, you're not really sick, but your body is tricked into believing that you're sick, and so you exhibit those symptoms of being sick when you're not really sick. It's basically your body's immune system overreacting to what it perceives as a threat that isn't really a threat, and that's what seasonal hay fever is. By the way, I cannot give any type of legal, medical, business advice. This is just purely infotainment and should never be construed as any type of legal, medical, business, or other advice. So, again, this is just from information that I have researched and analyzed over the decades. And so going back to the coronavirus, that's what I conjectured. If this coronavirus, which it is having and taking a toll, a considerable in or had been in China, but outside China in the United States, we haven't seen the same type of, havoc being wreaked as we saw in China. So the very simple thing that came to my mind is, well, ecosystem-wise, where this coronavirus supposedly originated, the virus being something that is, say, alive, depending on what your perception, belief, philosophy, mindset, science-wise is regarding viruses. If the thing is fucking alive, if it's a virus, and it's alive, and it's causing destruction, well, there has to be an off switch, right? There has to be a way to turn the shit off. So what deactivates it? What keeps it alive, right? So I'm just simply saying, simple conjecture. So outside of its ecosystem, how far can it go? How far can it spread? And so here, as I had conjectured, it is stated now by this particular scientist almost exactly what I conjectured, and this is what he says right here. Listen. So I was on to something when I stated that. It says right here, it says this is by Mike Pulido, and this is titled Coronavirus Expert, again, quote, Coronavirus Expert says he knows when the virus will burn itself out, according to leaked analysis. Now listen, this is almost exactly what the fuck I said 2 weeks ago. Listen, I'm saying this humbly. I knew in the realm of science, it's simple fucking logic. I was on to something applying simple fucking logic. Look how quickly it spread in China. And what did I say in the past episode from like 2 weeks ago? If you go back, look at the timestamp, look at the date, look at the time that I put it on YouTube, and it's right fucking there. And I say it very fucking clearly 2 weeks ago, before this article was ever even written and published. I said that I conjecture at the time that this coronavirus, based on the data from CDC and everything else that I was reading, my observation, my personal observation based on that information, was that, and I said clearly, as such pertains to heating and cooling, heating and contraction. That's what I said. Heating, like warming up, heating, and contraction. Back and forth. The ebb and the flow, the fluctuation of going from hot to cold, hot to cold, hot to cold. Heating, contraction, heating, contraction. I clearly fucking stated that. I said, look, this virus must not be able to thrive. Could be wrong. Even at this point, I could be wrong. But I said, it looks like it can't thrive in North America in the same way. At the time, it could mutate, whatever, I don't know. But I'm saying, at the time, that first wave of coronavirus, it didn't look identical to what was happening in China. Because the rate of those infected to those who died as a result of being infected, it wasn't the same as in the United States. So I'm like, it doesn't seem to have the same virulence, the same potency, the same strength in the U.S. Well, if you read this article, it goes on, it says right here. It says, it says, quote, sunlight will cut the virus's ability to grow in half. So the half-life will be 2.5 minutes, and in the dark, it's about 13 to 20 minutes, Nichols said. Okay? And then, hold on. He talks about how at some point, because of the temperature, it becomes inactive. It is deactivated. Hold on, let me find it. And again, I'm sharing with you scholarly citation, reference to an article by Mark Puleo, P-U-L-E-O. This is the same thing, essentially, that I said. So, when I theorized that temperature had something to do with the fucking corona, maybe it's something that I read in some body of information and subconsciously I just remembered that shit. I do have a book on virology. And I've thumbed through it over the years. Maybe I read something and it was just there. But nonetheless, it appears that, if you go again, look up this article, Google this. Just Google the following. Quote, coronavirus expert says he knows when the virus will burn itself out. Again, right out of just exactly the shit I said. Heating and contraction. Heating and contraction. I said that shit. He says, again, quote, titled, coronavirus expert says he knows when the virus will burn itself out according to leaked analysis. Wow, really? Leaked analysis? Something that fucking experts knew? That the public didn't fucking know? That's so weird because 2 weeks ago, I essentially said the same fucking thing. The same shit 2 weeks ago. Based on observable data. And if you don't fucking think that I'm being serious, just go back and listen to the podcast episode that's time-stamped on fucking YouTube from like 2 weeks ago that says one Sir Grove coronavirus analysis. And it's right fucking there. And by the way, let me see. And I found this, just so you know, I found this on the Smart News app, and it says that the source is AccuWeather.com. Yeah, it says AccuWeather.com. And it says, hold on. Let me click on this and go back to it. Okay. It says by Mark Puleo, AccuWeather staff writer. And it's dated 11 February 2020 at 5:46 p.m. Guess what? Today's date is 11 February. Well, how the fuck did I know this shit? I'm just saying, man. I guessed that this was accurate. And this was 2 weeks ago that you can see that I said the same shit. And it says, all right, so after these experts talk about sunlight cutting the virus, it goes on to talk about, it says they don't expect to see the virus thrive in certain areas where there's, a lot of sunlight, Australia, Africa, and the southern hemisphere. What is the temperature? Yep, right here. Boom. Quote, but at 30 degrees, which is 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's in parentheses, then you get inactivation. It says right fucking there, quote, but at 30 degrees, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, then you get inactivation. Yo, come on, man. I'm saying humbly, 2 weeks ago, I was on to it, and apparently my observation and hypothesis were pretty fucking spot on accurate based on all available data at the time. So I just wanted to point that out, man. Maybe we're at a point now where we're better understanding the coronavirus, and it won't be around as long as some had thought that it would be. I'm just saying, man, hope for the best, plan for the worst. Look, man, if this thing fucking doesn't thrive in sunlight, if it doesn't like higher temperatures, if it cannot exist and thrive as it has in China, outside China, hey, man, my heart goes out to those in China who have suffered as a result of the coronavirus. I'm just saying, in terms of, and in addition to that, my condolences, looking at the global surveillance report of this menace, the coronavirus, maybe we're starting to figure it out and have a better understanding of what exactly is happening. And let's hope that the situation, though it's been devastating thus far, it remains a minimal threat to the larger populace. And again, my heart goes out to those who were adversely and severely impacted by this terrible virus on Once Grove. Thanks for tuning in.